Okay, let's get into it. Just a few quick pointers. I don't waste too much of your time watching this video. I want you to get started cooking. About this recipe, okay, so Chai Tow Kway, otherwise known as carrot cake in Singapore, and Char Kway Kak up north in Penang, though the Penang version is a darker version than the one that I make, okay? Now, carrot cake. Why is it called carrot cake? Because in Chinese, radish is known as white carrots. Okay, hence the confusion when you think of carrot cake in Singapore. They're not talking about like Australian carrot cake. They're talking about this savory dish. The other thing I want to point out that there's a lot of confusion about this dish. Because people think it's hard to make because they think you're gonna like find radish, or otherwise known a lot here in Australia as daikon. And sometimes it's called turnip in some Chinese grocery stores, you know, depending on what you buy. And like I said, in Singapore, it's called carrots. Now, as far as the ingredients that go into this, what you want to do, essentially, you want to make a steamed rice cake, okay? And that's made from using rice flour and some tapioca starch. If you can't get your hands on tapioca starch, and I'm speaking to overseas Malaysians and Singaporeans here largely, and basically anyone who knows the dish, but who don't live in Malaysia or Singapore and want to try making it in their part of the world. If you can't get your hands on tapioca starch, you can use potato starch, you can use corn starch, okay? So keep in mind, any kind of substitution will impact the dish, but hopefully not too much, right? Now, as far as the sauce, okay, a couple of things. One of the key ingredients in this is what we know as cooking caramel nowadays. Okay, so go to your Asian grocery store, look for cooking caramel. If you can't find cooking caramel, maybe get dark soy sauce and then just cut through some of the saltiness with some molasses or something. I've given you some options in the handout that you can explore, right, as substitutions. Just one thing to note, a lot of people, including culinary school instructors, think that cooking caramel is the same as kicap manis. It is not the same as kicap manis, okay? Totally different product, well, very different product. But if you're completely out of options and you can only find kicap manis or sweet soy sauce, then fine, use it, but keep in mind it is sweeter, it's not quite dark enough, so the amount of sugar in the sauce that you would otherwise be adding has to be reduced significantly to kind of offset that, okay? The other thing I want to point out is that as far as the radish in the dish, right? Back in the old days, they used to do shreds radish and then cook it up with the rice flour batter, right, and steam it. Nowadays they don't do that. Okay, I don't do that. So it's just straight rice flour and tapioca starch, and you cook it up into a porridgey texture. It doesn't matter if it's lumpy, because once you steam it, it'll be fine. Okay, so don't get stressed out if it's not evenly thickened. Okay, you want to thicken it before you spread it on a steamer tray and then steam it for like 25 minutes, half an hour, something like that, right? Once it's steamed, you've got to let it cool down completely before you cut it into cubes. And then after that, what I do, this is my own hack, right? This is not seen in Malaysia or Singapore, something I haven't seen it, is I actually fry it up with a fair bit of oil, okay? I fry up these cubes just to roughen the surfaces of the cube. The reason being that, first of all, it gives it some texture, makes it a little bit, to me, interesting in texture, and also the texturalized surfaces help it to grab onto some of the sauce and some of the egg, right? And kind of, you know, to me it works a little bit better than just like a slippery cubic thing, okay? That's how I hack it. The other thing I want to mention is the minced preserved radish that goes into this dish, right? Now, if you're Chinese like me and you never did a lot of cooking growing up in your neck of the woods, and then you went overseas and then you struggle with finding all these Chinese or Malaysian hawker recipes and buying the wrong stuff for it. Like if you're Chinese, you look at this recipe, this is what you probably invariably think when you think of salted radish, okay, or preserved radish, right? This is not what you want. This is too salty, and also this requires for you to mince it. You can use it ultimately if that's your only option, but this is not my go-to. This, like I said, tends to be very salty, so you do want to rinse it very well if you're going to use it, and also you'll have to mince it up, okay? But don't use that as a first option. So it says salted radish. What I use is a Thai product, right? And this is more like what it looks like, okay? The reason you know it's Thai is because you want to look for where it says product of Thailand. You want to see some Thai text here. And you notice it's not even called radish, it's called turnip, Chinese turnip of all things. And it says chopped, which means it's already pre-minced. And it says sweet, okay? That's what you want. Now, this in fact is not the brand I usually get. I just couldn't find a picture of the brand that I used to get anywhere right now. But the brand that I get, ironically, has two variations. One of them has the prints in blue, and the other has the print in yellow. Go for the blue one, okay? If you see side-by-side comparisons of the same brand of this thing, they look the same. Otherwise, the ingredients list look the same. They both contain sugar and salt. Go for the blue print one because the blue print one has the correct balance of saltiness and sweetness, whereas the yellow print one is super salty. Okay. In the end, what you want to do is just basically taste them before you chuck them into your dish, okay? Taste them. If you think it's too salty, rinse it, drain it, and maybe toss a little bit of a little bit of sugar through it, right? And then before you use it. So if you can't get any of these, if you can't even get the Chinese version, which I find very hard to believe in this day and age, then maybe you can get kimchi, okay? Try some kimchi, dice it up, maybe toss a little bit of sugar through it as well, just to, again, you're not trying to make an overtly sweet dish. All you're trying to do is just to cut through some of the saltiness in this dish, okay? Otherwise, you can end up with something very salty. Everything else, garlic chives, you should be able to find. If you can't get a hold of it, use spring onion. But don't use Western chives, okay? That's a completely different animal altogether. If you've got any questions about any of the other steps or ingredients in this, hit me up. You know where to reach me. Otherwise, I'll see you in my next video.